This is Packet Tracer Week 8, Practical 8, Identify MAC and IP addresses. So there's two objectives in this practical. Part 1, gather the PDU information, and Part 2, reflection questions. Background. This activity is optimized for viewing PDUs. The devices are already configured. You will gather PDU information in simulation mode and answer a series of questions about the data you collect. Part 1. Gather PDU information. Note: review the reflection questions in Part 2 before proceeding with Part 1. It will give you an idea of the types of information you will need to gather. So I'm basically just going to have a read down through. There's roughly 20 questions here just to get an idea of the information I need to be mindful of capture just in order to answer the questions later on. So with the questions in mind, we'll move along to step 1. Step 1. Gather PDU information as a packet travels from 172.16.31.2 to 10.10.10.3. Click 172.16.31.2 and open the command prompt. Enter the ping 10.10.10.3 command. Switch to simulation mode and repeat the ping command. The PDU appears next to 172.16.31.2. Click the PDU and note the following information from the outbound PDU layer tab: the destination MAC address, the source MAC address, source IP address, destination IP address at device. Click Capture Forward to move the PDU to the next device. Gather the same information from step 1D here. Repeat this process until the PDU reaches its destination. Record the PDU information you gather into a spreadsheet using a format like the table shown below. Example spreadsheet format. So we can see here that there's actually an example done from us from 172.16.31.2 to 10.10.10.3. So we can see an array of information has actually been captured here. And if we move and just have a look at step 2, it says gather additional PDU information from other pings. Repeat the process in step 1 and gather the information for the following tests listed below. So we have a couple of tests listed below here. So here you can see that I've constructed a spreadsheet taking the example from Packet Tracer that has been provided to us from pinging 172.16.31.2 to 10.10.10.3. And for the remainder of our tests, I will just log the information on this spreadsheet so we can refer back to it. So now I'm just going to start. We're going to do a test ping from this machine to this one here. So basically we will open this PC desktop and select command prompt. And we'll just start by pinging the device. 172.16.31.4. So you can see this was successful ping, and now we're going to move across to simulation mode. So move across to simulation mode. So now that we're in simulation mode, we'll just ping the device again. You can see the PDU has appeared here, and from here we're going to gather the information from the PDU. So we'll just click on it to open it. We move to outbound PDU details, and here we can see the details. So from here we can see the destination MAC address, we can see the source MAC address, source IP address, destination IP address. And if we just click on OSI model, we can see at device 172.16.31.5. So now I will just use this information and populate it into the Excel spreadsheet. So now I've recorded the information in the spreadsheet, and we are going to move on to capture forward. We can see this PDU has moved on to the switch. So now we will gather the details from this PDU. If we click on, we can see add device switch 1, and we will click on outbound PDU details. And again, we can see all the details here: destination MAC address, source MAC address, source IP address, destination IP. So again, I'm just going to log this information on our spreadsheet. So now moving along, after capturing the details from our switch, I just pressed capture forward just to move the PDU along to 172.16.31.4. So if we open up the PDU, check the outbound details, we can see destination MAC address, source MAC address, source IP address, and destination IP, and we're at this device, which is this machine. So let's just take a look at our spreadsheet so far. I have populated all that information in here. Here's our first device we started at, the switch, and the device we ended at. So next I'm going to move along and do a ping test from 10.10.10.3 to 10.10.10.2. So that is from this machine to this machine, laptops. So moving along, we can see that we are still in simulation mode. So we will go ahead. We want to ping from here to here. So open desktop, command prompt, and we will ping to the other machine. So here we can see the PDU, and we're going to click on that, and we can see add device here and here, and just click on outbound PDU details. And we can actually see that there's no destination MAC or source MAC address. In this case, we're just going to note the source IP address and the destination IP address on our spreadsheet, which will look a bit like this. So just make a note here. So moving on. So now just press capture forward, and we're just going to access this PDU. So we can see at device, it's at the access point, and click on outbound PDU details, and we can see the destination MAC, source MAC address, source IP address, destination IP address. I'm just going to note them down in our table. So here's our table now, and I've just noted the destination MAC, source address, source IP, and destination IP for the access point. So now we'll just click on capture forward again, and we can see it's moving along to switch 0. So if we just click on that PDU, and we have our device switch 0, go to outbound PDU, and let's note our details down on our spreadsheet. So I've just entered the details into this spreadsheet, and we can see, interestingly enough, that switch 0 has the same destination MAC, source MAC, source IP, and destination IP details as the access point. Now moving along, we will press capture forward again, and we can see that the PDU moves to the access point. So if we take a look at this PDU and go to the outbound, and we'll notice here that that there is no actual destination or source MAC address, but we will take note of the source IP and destination IP address on our spreadsheet. So I've just populated the details here, and we'll move along. So we will just click capture forward, and now we're going to look at the PDU that has gone to 10.10.10.2. So click on outbound PDU details. We will notice this time around that there is no destination MAC or source MAC address. However, we will note the source IP and the destination IP on our sheet. So now we can see all the information has been populated in here, and we can close that. So just to recap on these, we've done 3 tests so far. The first one was given to us, and we have a couple of more tests to carry out. This one and these 2 here at the bottom, just these 2. So I'm going to go ahead and continue on. So next we will look at a test ping from this PC to this PC. .3 to .2. Just open this, desktop, command prompt, and ping. Noting that we're still in simulation mode. So we're just going to move along here now and ping, we'll do our test ping from this computer to this one. And we'll open the PDU. And we can see our destination MAC, source MAC address, IP, a source IP address and destination IP address. So I'm just going to note those down. So moving on, we will to capture forward, and we can see it's heading for the hub, and just open the PDU, and we're just going to click outbound details, and we can see the destination MAC address, source MAC address, source IP address, and destination IP, and then we'll just make a note of them. And we'll capture forward again. And this time we look at the PDU here, at the destination 172.16.31.2. Outbound, we can see the destination MAC address, source MAC address, source IP address, and destination IP, and we will note them on our sheet. That concludes our test for 172.16.31.3 to 172.16.31.2. So we'll move on to the next one. Moving on, we are going to do a ping test from 10.10.10.2, so this laptop here, to this PC, 172.16.31.4. So we'll just open up desktop, command prompt, and we do our ping test. Taking note, obviously, that we're still in simulation mode. So here's our pinging, and we can see the PDU packet here. So we'll just open it and examine it at device. So we're at this device, outbound PDU details. Note there's no destination or source MAC address. So we're just going to record the source IP address and the destination IP address. Now at the access point, we're going to see device at access point, outbound details, destination MAC address, source MAC address, and source IP and destination IP. So just take note of these details. Moving on. Switch 0 details, PDU packet at device switch 0, outbound details, destination MAC, source IP, destination IP address. Again, I'm going to take note. Moving on. Now we come to the router, open the PDU packet at device router, outbound PDU details, destination, source MAC address, source destination IP address. Just take note of these. And moving along. So if we just open switch 1 now. So at device switch 1, outbound PDU details, destination, source MAC address, source and destination IP address, and we'll just note these down. Moving along. And we have arrived at 172.16.31.4, and we just open the PDU packet. We can see we're at this device, outbound PDU details, destination, source MAC address, source IP, destination IP, and we'll just note down these details. And that concludes this test with just one more to go, but we'll just have a quick look to see where we're at. So these are just the details that I noted down from the test. And we will now move on to the last ping test from 10.10.10.2 to this PC here, 172.16.31.3. So I've gone ahead and done my ping test from 10.10.10.2 to 172.16.31.3, this PC. So we'll go ahead and open our PDU, outbound details, and it's just worth noting that we have no destination and source MAC address. We'll just note down the source and destination IP address. Moving along. Now we'll just take note of the access point details and outbound PDU. So we're just going to note down these details. And moving along to switch 0. Switch 0, destination, source MAC address, source and destination IP. And moving along to the router. So just grab the details here, destination address, source MAC address, source and destination IP address. And moving along now, capture forward to switch 1. The PDU packet, switch 1, outbound PDU details. Let's take note of destination source MAC address, source destination IP. So, and moving on. So open the PDU for hub, and we'll just record these details, destination and source MAC address, and source and destination IP address. And now we will open the PDU packet here. So we are at the device, and destination source, MAC address, source and destination IP address. And that concludes this ping test. So just to recap now, we have completed the ping tests and we have all our information now, and we can now move on to part 2, the reflection questions. So now we'll just answer the following questions regarding the captured data. Question 1, were there different types of wires used to connect devices? Yes, copper and fiber wires. Question 2, did the wires change the handling of the PDU in any way? No. Question 3, did the hub lose any of the information given to it? No. Question 4, what does the hub do with MAC addresses and IP addresses? Nothing. Question 5, did the wireless access point do anything with the information given to it? It did. Yes, it repackaged it as wireless 802.11. Moving on to question 6, was any MAC or IP address lost during the wireless transfer? No. Question 7. What was the highest OSI layer that the hub and access point used? Layer 1. Did the hub or access point ever replicate a PDU that was rejected with a red X? Yes, it did. When examining the PDU details tab, which MAC address appeared first, the source or the destination? The destination. Why would the MAC addresses appear in this order? A switch can begin forwarding a frame to a known MAC address quicker if the destination is actually listed first. Question 11. Was there a pattern to the MAC addressing in the simulation? No. Question 12. Did the switches ever replicate a PDU that was rejected with a red X? Yes. Question 13. Every time that the PDU was sent between the 10 network and the 172 network, there was a point where the MAC addresses suddenly changed. Where did it occur? It occurred at the router. Which device uses MAC addresses starting with 00D0? The router. To what devices did the other MAC addresses belong? To the sender and the receiver. Did the sending and receiving IPv4 addresses switch in any of the PDUs? No. If you follow the reply to a ping, sometimes called a PONG, did the sending and receiving IP4 addresses switch? Yes. What is the pattern to the IPv4 addressing in this simulation? Each port of a router requires a set of non-overlapping addresses. Why do different IP networks need to be assigned to different ports of a router? The function of a router is to interconnect different IP networks. Question 20. If this simulation was configured with IPv6 instead of IPv4, what would be different? The IPv4 addresses would be replaced with IPv6 addresses, but everything else would work the same. And that concludes this packet tracer activity.